to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message, hit the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try enforcing some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Hey guys, welcome to Trinity Force Podcast. The whole crew is here this week as we have lots and lots of preseason discussion to talk about. So we are going to waste no time and just hop right into that.
Damn it.
Anybody is allowed to
I
say
plan on
no.
wasting some time. I plan on wasting a ton of time. Like, we got Cubs, Indians tonight. Got Phantom Power Hour coming on this Saturday. A lot of big shit coming. That's
and
not
we have
legal.
a preseason coming. That is very big.
I mean, I guess.
Oh, look at that. Look at that transition back.
Well, the only quick announcement that I have for this podcast is we are doing Extra Life this weekend starting on Saturday. It starts at like 8 a.m. Head over to twitch.tv/TForce Podcast and you can watch us play. There's nothing like gigantically big this year going on. Like previous years, we've had tournaments and stuff. We just didn't get around to getting people are streaming all day. We have like a schedule. I think between like 7 and 11 o'clock, a bunch of guys are playing and they're going to be doing the same thing, like where you can donate like $10 to make them buy items and stuff and screw people over. So if you want to join in about 7 o'clock Eastern time on Saturday, a bunch of the guys from all of the network podcasts will be playing, including I believe that Lola and Just Okay will be joining as well.
That's what I've heard.
And you can donate to the kids and make us do stupid stuff. It'll be a lot of fun. Join us again this entire weekend for Extra Life. With that said, we're just gonna go ahead and jump right into the preseason changes, and there's quite a bit
more preseason.
Yeah.
Well, this pretty much wraps up our preseason discussion, too. And I think we have one more week before a patch. Is that right?
I'm not sure. It feels like it's been forever at this point. I can't remember if the preseason basically starts the moment ranked ends or if we get this 1 week grace period where there are no changes, but there's also no good reason to play the game.
Well, there's usually like you could play ranked after the season ends, but it would still rank you up and you could make like plat or something higher, but you miss the end of season rewards. It only kind of helps your next season ELO. Well, I shouldn't say ELO anymore, or your ranked MMR.
Yeah, I mean what does it basically improve your opportunity to place higher?
Sure.
Independent of your placement games.
You're editing the rubber band essentially that you could end up like getting a higher window that you could end up in, or a lower one if you shit the bed the entire time. So,
yeah, the highest that I think you can place is Platinum 1, but you pretty much have to be like Challenger to end there through your placements. If you're like a brand new fresh account, I heard the highest you can place is Gold 1, but it also takes your normal MMR into account, and that's assuming you go 10-0.
I'm really excited, Pone, because I think that this season 6, was your worst starting placements ever. So I'm guessing that you're going to go even lower next season with your placements and probably start in like Silver 4.
I can only
maybe Bronze 1 if we really could pray hard enough for Bronze 1.
You should do that. You should. I know you want to push to Masters next season, but you should try to tank your MMR during the off season you can do like a straight up Bronze to Masters.
I've already told my wife, I'm like, I got to Diamond. I took my alternate account. I got it to Gold the other day. I'm like, you finally.
I helped.
Dom helped. I'm like, I finally don't have to do anything for a few months. Like, I don't really need to play ranked until like February.
It starts again in December.
Yeah, I'm not going to jump in there.
Get going.
Not unless
I usually
do family stuff.
I'm a big fan of skipping like the first month of ranked because
Yes.
While everyone else is doing placements,
I skipped the first 4 or 5 months of ranked, so
I know you did.
I'm close.
Yeah, I don't remember what I skipped.
Just like you.
I skipped something. I skipped some of it, and then I went in there, and then I realized how much of a grind I had to do, and I took a big sigh and just started playing. So yeah, we're going to jump in. We have jungle changes to talk tonight. We have support item changes to chat about as well. And I believe that covers just about everything preseason besides some of the smaller champions that have been changed. I know we didn't really talk about like Shaco and some of the other little smaller characters. Even Zed we haven't talked about, but we will eventually get there, I'm sure.
And there will be refinements to the major assassins too as preseason goes along.
And probably the masteries.
Oh yeah, the masteries will get tuned for sure.
We talked all about all the mastery stuff so far.
I'm just saying they're gonna get refined.
Well, the one of the bigger refinements in this patch is the jungle, or in the preseason is going to be the jungle, and something, if you guys are used to playing the jungle now, you're gonna walk in there and kind of wonder what the hell's happening, because one of the big changes is that every camp no longer has the special buff, the smite buff rewards. So you no longer get the stun from Kruggs, you no longer get the Gromp shield, you no longer get the True Sight from Raptors, and you no longer get the little floating wisp from Wolves. Instead, they are making it so that every camp gives 100 plus 10% of your max HP when you use Smite. Gives that much health when you use Smite. Instead, every camp does now. Instead
of just red buff being the big one there.
Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty large change. Not to mention the changes to what is going on and how the jungle camps are working as well. Do we want to? I guess they are changing how Smite's working.
Yeah, I mean you're getting it 15 seconds extra per charge. So you're getting it less frequently, which makes sense because it's just supposed to be a health buff. You're not like getting all these strategic benefits from it. I think that's kind of smart.
It's that, and it's them changing up like where most people start in the jungle. You're going to be running a completely new jungle path from now on.
Sean, I think that was the longest stretch of time I've been on a show with you where you didn't talk ever.
Sean's been doing that a lot lately.
To Chira's point, though, I think this jungle path is going to change, but I don't know if it's going to become a variable thing. Just like looking at these changes that we're going to go over, it seems like there's going to be a solid starting point and end point. Well, like for example, you can't start at Gromp anymore because he's going to spawn later than normal.
Oh, not to mention like Gromp's going to be harder to kill than it's ever. Gromp won't be harder to kill, but like you're not starting Kruggs anymore. You're not starting Gromp anymore. So, if you start like Kruggs are going to be way harder to kill. Yeah, I mean if you start topside, which they added some interesting interactions with red and blue buff now, with red buff having less armor right off the bat and blue buff having less MR. You might see more AP centric jungler starting blue side, like on the blue buff side of the jungle, and you might see more AD center jungler starting red side.
So that could be the extent of the variances.
Yeah, I mean,
are you AD? Then you're starting red. Are you AP? Then you're starting blue.
Well, and it's not just that, but like, I mean, I take it if you wanted a little bit of help at buff, it'd be kind of like how it used to be, where like way back, like season 2 way back, or maybe early season 3, where it's like, okay, you start buff, move on to camps from there. Which was pretty common. Yes, you can do that every once in a while now, especially if you're going to go gank, like, you know, if you take your red buff and you go gank them at blue. But I see it more being like, okay, either you kill buff, go smaller camp to like Gromp or Kruggs or whatever, or you're going like Wolves to buff and then to bigger camp, or you have to just give up the Kruggs or Gromp until you can deal with it at like a higher level at some other point. Because like Kruggs do look like they're going to hit way harder.
Do on live, do you make it to level 3 on 2 camps? I'm thinking you don't.
No.
Correct? Okay. What I'm thinking is that Kruggs are the only ones that give you 150% like extra, or I guess 50% extra rewards. So I wonder if you might have a situation where you're going a camp to hit level 2 and then you go Kruggs, which possibly could hit level 3 for you off of just 2 camps now. That's the only one that it would be possible on, and it spawns later. So I could see a situation where you're going, if you're an AoE focused person, Raptors into Kruggs and hit level 3. I don't know the numbers on that yet, but
what did the Kruggs do, guys?
Kruggs don't. So the Kruggs, when you kill them, quote unquote, they break up into smaller ones. So the large one breaks into 2, what they're calling normal Kruggs, and then the normal Krugg splits into 2 mini Kruggs.
When you kill the big Krugg, it turns into the little Krugg that usually stands right next to the big Krugg, and when you kill one of the smaller Kruggs, it bursts into an even smaller Krugg than that only takes 1 auto to kill. But I mean, you're still going to end up autoing.
The gist of it makes it sound like they don't really want Kruggs to be this thing that's going to deal a ton of damage to you. They just want it to be a time sink.
Yeah.
And part of that is because they specifically don't like the marks or the duo lane starting with Kruggs or Gromp, and Gromp has changes as well to make it like a really punishing camp. I guess I'll go into that real quick. It doesn't poison. It gains 100% attack speed boost at the beginning of the fight, which decays over 5 attacks, and then it also spawns 15 seconds later than other cans and has the same bonus experience. They don't want people doing that. They're avoiding that right off the bat with the 15-second delay, but I think in the long term they still just like the goal is to get it to spawn at the same time, but still make it like a heavy penalty for the duo lane to go for.
Where's the bonus for that on Gromp? I don't see that.
It's in there. I've read it elsewhere. I copied these notes from Surrender at 20, and he did forget to include that.
Gromp currently gives the most experience out of any camp.
Okay.
Even more so than Blue and whatnot.
Where the Kruggs are going to be a time sink, Gromp's going to be like
a damage
sink. Yeah, he's gonna be like, oh hey, like you're gonna it's gonna be interesting if you end up like warding right near the Gromp so you can see the enemy jungler when they go in there, because you know that like, hey, if you're on one side of the map or like if you ward in there, it's up and you know the enemy jungler is coming through, and you like go to kill Scuttle Crab or something like that, and you see that, oh hey, they're at like 2/3 health. By the time they're done with the Gromp, they may be closer to 1/3, they may be under half or whatever, and now's a good time to gank. If you can catch them early before like the damage levels out so that they take all that like big initial damage right off the bat, you're probably going to be able to get some interesting like gank interaction with that. It seems like a death trap.
I know we're not really talking about what jungle champions are going to be good yet, but thinking through this, do you think Karthus might see like that weird comeback in the jungle? Not like he's played all the time, but now
are you thinking AoE in general?
Well, not just AoE, but his Q, right?
Single
does
target,
more damage,
doubles.
single target. And now that Gromp is single target, red and blue buff for single target, because red and blue buff no longer have the little minions with it, it could make it so that he clears that camp more quickly in the beginning.
But there's more AoE in other camps too, like in the Kruggs and the Raptors now.
And he's never been bad at AoE. He hits 2 off of blue and then walks over, and now he can do the Raptors, because there's a ton of them. There's a ton of little ones now. He does the Raptors, and he walks over. He gets his health from red that he's cutting around. Like I don't know. I think I could see. I want to kind of try that now that I'm.
This sounds like Mitch's jungle brand.
Why would you want to do Karthus over Fiddlesticks?
Because Karthus is just fun, and people have been trying to.
Okay. So you're really just talking about the screwing around factor.
Yeah. He's seeing like, oh hey, this would be an interesting thing to see if it comes back. I mean, like. You could make it work. Honestly, I think you can make fucking jungle Karthus work right now if you really wanted to, and you're going to put the time investment in to figure out everything. But, like, it still shouldn't be chosen when there's other great junglers around. Like, that's like, your fascination with wanting that to happen is the same as me being like, fuck it, I want to keep playing jungle Cinch. Let's do this. Yeah. Like, just to do it. Which is fine. I mean, if you want to do that, go try it out. Let us know what's happening. But like, I
kind of wonder if Jungle Graves takes a hit through all of this stuff. Just
probably,
particularly like he's not going to be able to easily kite around the Raptors, although he'll probably just kill them with one Q. But then Kruggs and Gromp, like they're going to punish the shit out of him. Because he can't knock him away and kite him around, because Kruggs take forever and Gromp is going to attack so freaking quickly. At least that's the idea. I mean, we'll see what really happens. But if Jungle Graves gets killed, what happens to that champion?
Graves?
No, he doesn't do anything.
Or Gragas?
I don't think it'll be that bad, just because of the smite giving life back, and he can still kite stuff.
That
around.
He can kite, and like that was a big.
And his passive gives him ton more armor and stuff. It may just not be as fast.
I mean, it'll be one of the... All right, so if he fights Gromp, it might be harder for him to fight something like Gromp or Kruggs if he has to reload more, But otherwise, like, you still should be able to clear everything else in the jungle pretty easily.
Yeah. Did we talk... Okay, so we talked about what Gromp does. Obviously, I brought up that Blue and Red Sentinel no longer have the smaller monsters with them, so they're all single target. And Raptors have 2 additional Raptors... small Raptors added to the camp.
They definitely want you starting at one of the buffs, and it kind of depends on how resource intense your clear is. if you're going to need to use a lot of mana, it's probably a case where irrespective of the type of damage you're dealing, you're still starting blue because that's what you need. But I do wonder, like, the intent is to get you to level 2 after any camp at this point, not just. Actually, I think that's the case now. But
yeah,
with in theory, the big buff camps taking less time to clear since you don't have the little minions along there with it. Do you think we will see more red buff starts and then level 2 ganks either in mid or bot lane?
I was thinking more of maybe not even using your smite on the first camp anymore, because the recharge time doesn't start at 125 like it used to. The recharge time
you wait for the second just so you can get the health back during that midway point rather than just right immediately off. I could see that happening.
Yeah, you just kill it. You keep your smite because the recharge doesn't start until 140. Right.
And if anything like that, that just means like maybe your laners help you leash a little bit harder.
I don't know. I mean, given the way things are right now, it is punishing as fuck to have to give a decent leash to anybody who starts at one of the colored buffs as opposed to.
Well, I get that, but like that used to be the standard to get your jungler ahead early. Like in the early seasons of this game, you would see that happen all the time, just so people could get some sort of advantage and then be able to sway more later.
It's punishing now because the enemy junglers are the enemies like in bot lane are starting at a closer point than you would be. So if you're helping them take blue, the enemies are starting at Kruggs, right? So they get to lane faster than you do. But if both people are starting at the camps, it's no longer punishing for anybody. You can still make it to lane in time to get your first minion.
That depends. If one person or if bottom side starting red buff and top side starting blue buff, then yeah, that's true. But if bottom side is starting red buff and top side's also starting red buff, then
one team we get disadvantaged.
Then the duo lane is automatically going to be in lane, while the red side duo lane is going to be in lane, while the blue side duo lane is going to be running back over there. Yeah, I think mid laners probably end up having the biggest kind of tax put on them.
I don't think mid laners will help ever though, because mid lane gets to.
Do you remember when they used to though?
Yeah, they used to. I mean, it used to be you cast a spell and then you run over to lane. Like, I think that's what we're going back to.
To be honest, I kind of like that. I mean, it is nice little nostalgic throwback to that sort of thing. I don't realistically know. I can see where, like, when it comes to a greater strategy of like, oh hey, I don't necessarily know where so and so might be starting, which we're going to be pigeonholed more so into being like, okay, you're either starting at big buff or a smaller camp, and you're not probably starting Gromp or Kruggs. So like it shouldn't be too hard if there's any tell necessarily on the map. And an easy one would be like, oh, the mid laner is missing some mana already. He started blue buff, or something like. I guess.
Is this the season that's gonna make us wish we still had clairvoyance in the game?
Oh God.
Yeah, probably not.
I miss that spell.
Probably not. I think it's obviously a lot of theory crafting around it, but I don't think it's gonna be as. It's what I'm thinking is it sounds like we're like spelling gloom and doom for laners and whatnot, and how junglers are starting, and it'll probably quickly turn into people either are not helping the jungler or are just learning to play around to help the jungler.
I mean,
and finding ways to work around this so no one's behind.
We're also speculating. Like, I mean, when we actually get in, we can see what all the changes are made or something like that. Like, it might be something where like, yeah, okay, so you do start Kruggs, and this only takes like an extra 6 seconds, which 6 seconds seems like forever that early in a jungle kind of situation. But like, if that's all there is to it, it's like, well, that's not too big of a deal, I guess. Like,
well, and if it's an extra 6 seconds, like you got to keep in mind that that's also affecting your opponent jungler and everything. It's not like it was a nerf just to you or your
it's a
nerf
for everyone,
to all junglers. In theory. And it might be 4 seconds for some junglers and 8 seconds for others, but
the enemy jungler would have to start wolves then. Like if we were assuming they're doing equal, like the enemy jungler starts wolves, and then that puts the blue side bot lane even further behind because I gotta stand by wolves rather than stand by blue, right? Like technically blue will be faster to kill with smite than Gromps will or Kruggs will.
Why would you ever start wolves?
Because you're assuming that called it red. I called it blue side. I meant red side. You're assuming that blue side is starting Kruggs, so that means red side in the same scenario is starting Wolves.
Why?
Well, because they're talking about Kruggs taking an extra 6 seconds to kill. Blue doesn't take that extra. 6 seconds.
That's just a speculative number. Like what it could take fucking 12 seconds more.
But it's also 15 extra seconds.
You're never going to
start the camp. You're never going to start those anymore. Like you can't. Otherwise, you're sitting at your camp waiting for 15 seconds and doing nothing. Like you have to start red or blue. It doesn't make sense to start anything else because you get no bonus from the other ones.
You can start Raptors or Wolves if you wanted to.
Right.
And you're never going to start Gromp or Kruggs.
Yeah. what about difficulty scaling? Because we've only talked about the camps and only theory crafted for a map we haven't played on yet.
But okay, never mind. Go ahead.
No, over the course of the game, jungle's going to get more difficult. That's it. Like that's all it is.
And it's fitting level breakpoints.
Yeah, it's fitting brackets instead of linearly scaling with over time. I think it was. Now it's like when the average level of people is 1 to 3, it's this first tier, and then 4 to 6, 7 to 9, 9 plus, then it starts linearly scaling again. So
they're not
I don't know
any extra experience besides what they're getting now. No. They're just getting extra damage and resistance.
Yeah, it just takes them longer. I have read kind of throughout the discussions for preseason that they are trying to do things to really like curb the herbivore and just the power farmer style junglers, because it encourages, like, the game gets played in a weird way, and it ultimately can punish one team when they didn't have any say in whether or not they were going to like be subject to that play style. It's just one person deciding to go in and then hope they reach critical mass at a point when it's still meaningful. I don't know if I agree with that logic, but I think that is the argument that they're trying to make. And they acknowledge that if it does like overly harm somebody like Shyvana or Master Yi or something, they will look at the champion specifically. But I mean, that's what the intent behind these changes, so that people can't just clear and farm without ever showing, like, making a presence in lane, without it, like impacting the jungler as much as
is dead for good.
This means Warwick is dead for good. Warwick won't even be good in bronze
until he gets his rework.
I mean, you say that, but like that champion is one of the ones that would like disregard completely that Gromp does more damage, or
think about how long it will take him to kill Kruggs.
I mean,
but he actually has a faster attack speed.
Yeah, I was about to say it won't take him that much longer than anybody else. He's just gonna auto attack through it.
I was actually going to say that his situation with like blue and red might be faster since it's only one target and you stack up that passive.
I'm just talking more about early. Early, he's slow. Like even his first clear to 6 is it's slower than obviously the power junglers, but that's why he's not even like an A tier jungler right now, because he's just slow to clear throughout his entire.
Well, when was the last time he was an A tier jungler?
Feral Flare.
It was during the Feral Flare era.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Like, that is a lifetime ago.
And it was, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So like that, I that's not even on the table. We want to go back to like the champions that are strong right now. I don't know how they're gonna. I mean, like we're seeing a little bit of resurgence of somebody like Nunu, at least in solo queue. And if they don't want like herbivore style junglers, I guess like.
Well, it's not that. What they don't want is people who are just sitting in their own jungle doing nothing but farming and everything.
Yeah.
The herbivores, in theory, could work if you're being an aggressive counter jungler, but it's a different play style, and you are proactively setting somebody back. Mm-hmm. But I think that's what like the Shyvanas are going to have to do to be successful.
You're going to see less like, Master Yi sort of situation.
No, you're not, because it's Master Yi.
Well, the counter jungler. People gonna? Yeah, the counter jungler with Poacher's Knife, right? Isn't that going to come back into play a little bit more than maybe? Then the old
Poacher's Knife at all? Like we didn't even see Poacher's Knife. If people were going to run it, they were going to go with skirmishers and then try to just insta-gib somebody in the jungle.
No, but it's a different Poacher's Knife. It's not a jungle item. It's an item that you essentially get free gold. And you get free gold from it upgrading into a serrated dirk if you kill, I think, 3 enemy camps maybe total. It's something like that. But you end up getting free gold as opposed to kind of a weird. I guess I thought it was like a health and mana and maybe move speed buff when you smite.
Yeah, it used to be that weird sort of like, oh hey, I come in and take this and then I run away.
Yeah, this might be actually worth it because you're getting a gold advantage by buying an inferior item that upgrades into a much better item for free if you
use it right.
Steal stuff from your opponent, which is an even better gold advantage. So you can get a lot off that. If I don't know if it'll turn into the old Season 2 Moscow 5 counter jungling, but that'd be kind of funny if it did.
I mean, it helps. The camp respawn timers have been increased by 50 seconds. They're now 150 seconds from 100 seconds, making counter jungling potentially more effective.
More meaningful.
Yeah, it's damaging. I mean, it also means that you, like, if your mindset as a jungler is to just farm your own stuff, like, you're going to lose a lot of time. You got to find something new to do. Because, between all these changes,
camps are just worth way more in general. You're going to feel every
they
loss.
Aren't up as often.
No, you're gonna. That's the thing. You're gonna feel every single loss. Like if you get a camp, that in itself is gonna be more meaningful just because of the way that the experience scaling is gonna be. But like, if you're able to successfully counter jungle and you can pull off the, oh, I took your entire one side of the jungle, whatever. Like that's gonna significantly set somebody back.
Boy, this really changes. I mean, in theory, this can really change what mid laners, if nobody else, are gonna kind of need to do as far as warding goes, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Makes Ivern probably a lot better too.
Probably
steal camps really quickly. Yeah, because
all we need is to
he's gonna do the fucking Kruggs so fast.
Oh that's
true. Shit, I didn't even think about that.
Well,
oh my goodness.
Every Ivern that's playing right now walks into the enemy jungle and takes the enemy's the opposite camp, and then they walk back into their jungle and start farming it up a little bit. But yeah, he'll be able to take Kruggs and everything else way faster. So it's potentially a buff to him just for the fact that he can be counter jungling effectively.
Sorta. He's low health while he's doing it.
Sure. Uh-huh. So
yeah, if you run into Ivern, you bet like mid laners ward the shit out of your jungle because
he's gonna be all up in it.
Yeah, I mean he'll be easy kills if you catch him, but
if mid laners, proactive about that. Every mid laner out there, if you didn't watch Faker at Worlds, you need to go back and watch every game Faker played because it was like around 2 minutes and 30 seconds or something. He always walked down and warded the enemy's wraiths.
Well, I mean, he was taking the enemy's wraiths at any opportunity that he could.
Not wraiths, but chickens, but yeah, beaks.
The raptor camp.
Yeah, he would always try to take one of the little one, or the whole thing if he could, but he'd always walk down there and ward in between the bush and the raptor camp to try to get eyes on the enemy jungler. And I think even in solo queue, just getting that ward down is super helpful.
A big portion of that is also one raptor plus the first wave gets you level 2. That's the other reason for it, is you would kill one, so you'd just pop level 2 before the next wave showed up.
He did miss it.
And get vision too, but yeah.
It's pretty hard to do. It's pretty hard to do to take one without taking any damage, is what I'm trying to say, because he always tried to kite one out, and he I think a couple times he missed his last auto attack.
I mean, and mid laners, I guess, who are I don't know, golden below. Like, I know that sounds really scary to not have your ward placed super, super safe to you so you can see when the gank is coming from the most obvious standpoint. But if you look at it from a bigger picture, like, you're going to know where the jungler is when they go for that raptor camp, and so you will be able to respond accordingly, whether that's playing back or just alerting the top laner that, hey, the jungler's on this side now and everything, so, keep your shit together. And it helps your jungler, too, to know where the enemy jungler is.
I mean, that's how you effectively play mid lane, though, is to not ward your side brushes, but to ward deeper into the enemy jungle to get an idea where the enemy jungler is at. Then for X amount of time you can play this way.
Right, but that's not the most obvious decision to people who, haven't been playing a ton of mid lane or they're trying to figure it out right now. Like, the obvious decision is always put the ward in the place that's going to be obviously the most of the most benefit to you and everything. Mm-hmm. And warding their jungler isn't immediately apparent as the best decision, but it actually is the better decision.
Right. So we talked about Smite. We talked about the difficulty scaling and everything. Did we miss anything on this? Oh, I guess we should talk itemization, and that's Machete is now having its on-hit damage increased to 25 from 15, and the lifesteal has been increased to 10% from 8%. And the tier 2 jungle items all have their on-hit damage increased to 25.
This really just screams response to the increase in difficulty. They don't want to really punish junglers.
They're not punishing junglers, but they're punishing.
They're punishing everyone else.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about Rift Herald either, which is still looks like the objective that you just take if you have the opportunity to take it, right? Because the spawn time is now been increased to 10 minutes, but the attack damage has been lowered, so he does less damage to you.
It was too risky to take before because of how much damage it did.
And if they caught you there,
could
they
get
could
really
just
low. Yeah, really low when you took that. If somebody saw you taking that, then they can pretty much walk up and kill your jungler, whoever's tanking the Rift Herald.
And I mean, that ends up giving it it makes it more of an endurance test than a race, because you got 4 extra minutes to level up, get items, whatever, and then does 28 less damage on hit. That's pretty nice for that much later in the game.
I'm with Adam. I don't think this changes anything. They've said that they're not really happy with Rift Herald, and they plan to give it a deeper look. Probably at mid-season.
They're hoping by making it less risky that more people would take it. I'm with you guys. And at the same time, because they're making it less risky, they kind of have to increase the spawn time, because, I mean, if it was too easy to take, then at 6 minutes you might see people just rushing to take that.
Punch, I'm willing to wager that you've had the Rift Herald buff more than, I mean, 3/5 of the people on this show.
Because I play top lane?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Whenever you have it, have you really felt like it made a big difference in how you went about your business and the fights and trades you were making?
It didn't. See, to fall in line with kind of what we've been saying, I would only get again when I had the opportunity, which means my team was probably in the lead. So I was already winning most trades, and this just kind of made me win those trades harder. It didn't really change my play style, and eventually, because the buff lasts so long, you kind of forget you have it. Because eventually you're going to group up with your team anyways. It's like, yeah, I could be split pushing the entire game, but
if you're grouped with your
grouping
team,
up outweighs the benefit of having this buff.
And when you played against it, is it something you really noticed that the opponent had, or was it like, oh shit, they got it, maybe I'll be a little bit more careful, or were you already so far behind?
Again, yeah, since I'm behind, I'm already playing careful.
I mean, so if that's the case, then there's already a fundamental problem with the buff. Like, it's...
Yeah. It doesn't do it.
It needs a lot of work. Like, there's no incentive. It needs something more.
Here.
Like, I almost wonder, like, would they be better off going back to what the old Rift Herald was? Or was that, when it was like kind of the mini Baron boost for one person?
That's what it is.
No, it's not. It's different now.
Yeah, it's different. It does an extra attack. It does.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
It's
for some reason,
like
I was thinking something different. Yeah. It's a 20-minute buff now. My bad.
Yeah.
It's an all-purpose Ludens if you're alone.
Another change in this patch is that dragon aspect of the dragon, the Elder Dragon buff. The duration has been increased by 30 seconds to get a little more time out of it. That 30 seconds really being used so you can back after you take it and then have 2 minutes of the buff while you're in lane, rather than having a minute 30 while you're in lane with it.
Yeah, that thing always, like, it feels like you get it and then it's gone before you can do anything, before you really get a chance to do anything with it. So, yeah, like it was more one of those buffs that you took or you tried to take just so that your opponent couldn't get it, especially if they had all of the dragons.
And it was a win harder buff.
We envision that this might be something you consider taking over Baron, but I mean, it turned out again that the buff was just it expired so quickly that Baron, the vast majority of the time, turned out to be the better decision than taking.
Well, that, and you had to play such a long con with it. It wasn't one of the, like, in theory, if you're going for the Elder Dragon, it's because you've already taken, 2 to all of the dragons throughout the course of the game.
Or the enemy team has, and you want to stop them from getting it. Yeah.
But that's not a good reason to do something. It's just like you're doing it because you don't have another choice now. Like, that's the state of the game is at. Whereas Baron is still always like you're making a calculated decision. You are putting everybody in this vulnerable position for the possibility of getting a really, really big boost to your team, as well as the gold from it and everything. You were never taking Baron just to deny the opponent the opportunity to take Baron. That was a benefit, but it still has enough positives for you that, like, you want it.
Yeah. I like Elder Dragon. I like what it does. I like that it doubles all your buffs. But it can be almost too much of, sometimes it's too much of a time sink to take it, like you guys said, and you need that. And like, I'm glad that, like, overall this is great, you're giving that extra 30 seconds, but like when you have 4 dragons already, Elder Dragon is harder to take than if you only had 1 dragon, because the Elder Dragon scales its damage and resistances and whatnot scale based on how many dragon buffs you have. So that extra 30 seconds to go back and base to heal up and whatnot would be great. And I'm glad they're doing some, tweaking to this a bit.
I wonder if a change to Elder Dragon would just, like, if they would be better off giving it something that is, I don't want to say the same as Baron, but along that vein, where it's not dependent on the number of dragons that you've taken otherwise and everything. Like a team that's behind, it can still be a game changer for them and get them back into it. Or if that's adding too much, I don't know.
Well, I mean, what if it
trade opportunity or
I mean, like
RNG
what? Like if you kill Elder Dragon, then you
know.
didn't have like a bunch of dragon buffs, it like tried to equalize how many dragon buffs you had compared to the other team? Like what?
No, I mean, like, Baron gives you a certain set of boosts and benefits to it and everything, and I just wonder if Elder Drake would be better off also having its own set of temporary boosts and steroids benefits that are independent of the number of dragons that you have previously taken. But I think that makes it like either you're willing to trade Baron for Dragon or Dragon for Baron.
It's probably too much for what it already
at
gives.
worst, and so there's like an RNG situation almost at play there, and the games would stall out more probably. All right, bad idea.
You tried.
Something to think about.
Well, we have some itemization changes, specifically for support this season, and we're gonna run over some of those now. The big one here, though, is that Aegis of the Legion no longer has the MR aura attached to it. So that is gone. You no longer have to feel like you have to build Aegis of the Legion anymore. Instead, it now gives only you 30 armor, 30 magic resist. And that's it.
So, will you buy this item? It still has the active, correct?
Yeah, so the big thing that's left over is the Locket buff. It's still, you get, Locket is now 30 armor, 60 magic resist, no health attached to it, no CDR. So that's kind of two of the main things you really liked, having just a platter of stats.
We're talking just Aegis, and just Aegis by itself for
it's now 1,100
gold.
Right.
I know you would buy it to get probably to get Locket. That's pretty much it, because you get a bigger shield now that decays. Like I don't see any point to talk about Aegis itself because it doesn't do shit. Like it's literally just
Aegis is a garbage item right now.
It's just armor 30 magic resist. There's nothing else to talk about. There's no other stats. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's a garbage, and it costs 1,100 gold now instead of 1,500 like previously.
The difference though is that they give 30 extra MR to Locket, so it's 30 and 60, and the shield it now decays over time, but is much larger. It goes 70 to 665 shielding. That decays over 2.5 seconds. So
that shield's going to be better if you have any of the shield improvement items. But
it'll be that. It'll require better timing. I think that in higher elo, this could be incredible in terms of you suddenly throw on 3,000 health worth of shields onto your team, and if it's timed right, you've blocked a ton of damage.
Right.
But previously you had 345 max per person, but it didn't decay. It was 2 seconds, and if it went down from taking damage, obviously it went down. This is a little bit different. I'm not sure if it decays like linearly over time or what, but that's a crazy amount of increase, like to almost double the amount of shielding you could put out per person, and then increase that duration. So I think that it might be good for higher play. But I agree. They're taking it out of the buy every game situation.
And I think for most players, the reality is that you would rather have Knight's Vow or Redemption in most cases as the item that, like, maybe you get Aegis at the very end of the game just because that extra shield is going to be really valuable for it. But Aegis is kind of the rush item right now, and that's the reason they're changing it so much. And we'll have to go into Knight's Vow and Redemption, but the reality, like, Knight's Vow is targeted at tanks, and it makes them really good at being tanks, and it makes your 80 carries also help you be better at being tanks. And then Redemption sort of gives you this, it improves your shields and healing, and even if they focus you down, you are still able to do something after the fact.
I just think making the step item into Locket just absolute garbage and essentially it's a waste of 1,100 gold at this point. It turns me away from it, from buying it, unless it's like, it's kind of like, I'm going to buy this now in place of like Zeke's Herald, right? Or is it Zeke's Harbinger now? I can't remember.
Zeke's Harbinger,
yeah. You buy that as your fourth item rather than buying it as your second item or first item, whatever it is. But yeah, Knight's Vow and Redemption are fantastic items.
I could only see it being useful like as an early item on somebody who either has a ton of health inherently, and I can't think of anyone right offhand that I'd even consider it on support-wise. Like,
yeah,
I don't
really, because like
I can't.
Scion,
it supports Scion, maybe, but
even then, like he's still gonna rather have. They're both still gonna rather have Knight's Vow.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this real quick, just so before you jump into this, just people know what, because we keep talking about Knight's Vow and Redemption. We haven't told anybody what it does.
Oh yeah.
Knight's Vow is the crystalline bracer. It's 2 crystalline bracers and a cloth armor. 2,400 gold total. It is 400 health, 100% base health regen, 20 armor. The unique active, designate an allied champion as your partner. This is 90-second cooldowns. If your partner is nearby, gain a 40 additional armor and 15% movement speed towards them. That's one passive. The other is if your partner is nearby, heal them for 12% of the damage your partner deals to champions and redirect 12% of the damage your partner takes from champions to you as true damage. Healing and damage reductions are reduced by 50% if you are ranged. So
they're basically saying they don't want Soraka buying this, even though Soraka is still probably going to buy this. Yeah, but I mean, like it's a defensive Zeke's is what it is.
Yeah, it's you make a link, and I don't think there's any like combined uniqueness of those two. I don't think I think you could do both. I think that's kind of funky, but it's also giving like something else you can, like that 15% move speed towards somebody and getting what's essentially, if you're near your partner, 60 armor, 400 health is not bad for 2,400, and then you also get that move speed, and then the other person unique. It's
a great item.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's going to be great for tanky melee supports.
I would much rather have this than Aegis, because I like Crystalline Bracer for laning, because health regen actually ends up having a much bigger impact during that time. And also like that little bit of armor that you're going to get, like even just as a step item, again, that little bit of armor has a really big impact during the laning phase, and that's when you're going to be targeting this item. And then all of a sudden you turn it, and now when your 80 carry deals damage, you're getting healed for that. Like I can't tell you how happy that makes me, because now I get to dive in and I'm not gonna die just for doing what I'm supposed to do.
So instead of putting this under 80 carry, I'm under the impression that we're going to be we're top lane. Hey, Punch, top lane is going to be more tanks again. We're going to probably see the return of Malachi.
Fuck you,
Irelia, Darius.
Curse you for doing this to me.
I'm thinking more of like you can drop Knight's Vow into Darius instead, and he's healing himself. And he's healing you, and he's just not taking any damage, and the dude's just running through the backline, right? Like this Knight's Vow seems like it's going to be more powerful on the Juggernauts, like linking to a Juggernaut.
Or Darius could get it and drop it on an assassin, and so now all of a sudden Darius is getting healed because the assassins are running around and doing their job.
Doing a bunch of damage.
He's taking damage, which is what he's supposed to do anyway, and the assassins are living longer. I do think top laners are going to give that item a look.
I think with peeling characters too, because of that 15% move speed towards your partner, I think it's going to be really useful if you're going to have to like play for a immobile or like a Jinx or a Twitch or somebody. Like if you have that extra move speed towards the person you're trying to peel for, and you're a CC bot, like that's going to be pretty nice to be able to help them out in any scenario, as opposed to it's kind of like a reverse Janna passive.
Yeah.
I mean, not that it slows you, because that would be kind of terrible.
No, just it flips the passive.
Yeah. Do you want to talk redemption? Because I've been watching a video of how big this area of effect is, and it's ridiculous. Okay, so on that note, redemption's another new item, another new support item. Forbidden Idol and Crystalline Bracer, 650 gold. It has 400 health, 75% base health and mana regen, 10% CDR, plus 10% healing and shield power. And its active is what's real interesting, because it says target an area within 5,500 range, which is very large.
Pantheon alt range.
Yeah, I think that's even farther than that. Is that straight up?
Pantheon max alt range or Pantheon level 1 alt range?
I'll check.
Okay, but either way, after 2.5 seconds, call down a beam of light to heal allies for 130 plus 20 per level of target, so a maximum of 390 would be the maximum healing. Or burn enemies, and burn enemy champions for 10% of their maximum health as true damage, and deal 250 true damage to enemy minions. 120-second cooldown can be used while dead.
Oh boy,
that's real crazy. Also, the area of effect is gigantic. It's like double the area of like a fully charged Anivia ult, I would say.
Real quick on the cast range, it's just Pantheon alt range. His alt range doesn't change based on level up. So if you played Pantheon once, I was thinking the range of.
Okay, cool.
A giant heal / AoE smite that you slap down in a particular region.
It's a semi-global active item ability. Like that doesn't exist. That has not existed prior to this point.
Yeah, and it's also it takes.
I want this on
every
every champion.
You can see it. You can see it coming down. Like it's very obvious. It's a giant circle that you're gonna see the circle like go in on before it drops, and it's an instantaneous heal and damage. So it's not like it takes a few seconds of standing in there, but that's a thing. Actually, I wonder how close that is to like Gangplank ult. Gangplank ult might be the best.
Is this like Reboot, the TV series, where they're like game incoming? Game in, the thing comes down from the sky slowly. And like
if they had skins for items, then probably, but I don't think they do.
Like that show was awesome.
I remember it. A lot of our listeners probably don't.
Probably.
No,
I do remember it. I never really watched it.
He's like, Reboot? What's Reboot? I only have to do that every night.
Okay, so just checked. Redemption is kind of similar to Gangplank ult, like the radius of that circle. So that's.
Oh shit! I didn't realize it was that big.
It's fat.
Holy shit!
Big. I just watched the video as we were about to start talking about it, so I was like, oh, that's pretty big. That's ridiculous. But 2.5 seconds, long time. That's the same as like Tarek's ult to pop.
Right, and I mean, and like anything else, you're going to get really frustrated with it at first because that type of channel is frustrating. But the moment you figure out the timing, and hell, with that cast or with that AOE, like you can be pretty far off and still have a meaningful impact on shit.
It's perfect for Magi supports because they can just use this from lane and get the assist for every gank.
Use it from death and pick up assists while they're dead.
Yep.
I'm really excited about the
graphic.
I feel like they're going to change
the
that.
The videos. There's going to be so many highlights of people stealing like Baron or Dragon with this, and it's going to be so stupid because people are like, "Oh no, it's coming," but I don't know the timing on it yet. And I mean, so many people are going to mess it up when they.
Maybe there could be 5 redemption teams.
I kind of feel like this item alone puts Soraka right back into ban prison. I mean, like right now she gets banned a lot, but I think it's because people are just annoyed playing against her, not because she necessarily needs to be off the board. But between this item and the fact that they're increasing bans to 5 for both sides, like they have not finalized that yet, but every post I keep reading says they're like, yeah, we're pretty sure 5 bans per game, or I'm sorry, 5 bans per team.
Yeah, 10 bans
is where we're going. I mean, Soraka's never going to get a chance to show up on the Rift again.
Hey, neither is Yasuo.
Or he is. I'm playing him every time.
Yeah, sorry about your luck. Too bad you put all that time into it, huh?
I mean, you say too bad you put a lot of time into it, but I barely got to play him, like right after that happened. So I guess you know what, good on those people that don't either have to watch me destroy them or watch me fail at destroying them. This is great.
Some other items are getting some changes, and I'll just kind of like quickly walk through them because they're minor changes. Forbidden Idol has had a cost reduction, and the heal and shield power has also been reduced. Chalice of Harmony has had the cost reduced. The mana regen has been increased. The healing regen by the same amount. Athene's and Holy Grail cost has been reduced. Face of the Mountain, shield users and ally. So it shields you and your ally now.
Well, hold up. Chalice has actually like changed what's going on with it. Because it's changing from I think Chalice was if your health is higher, you regen more mana and vice versa. Mm-hmm. Now it increases to your base mana regen, also increase your base health regen stat by the same amount. Like they changed how just the chalice items work.
Right.
I don't know if that's important. I don't think many people are buying regen it's not in vogue right now.
It's definitely not an item I was ever prioritizing. It was like, fuck, I gotta buy Chalice. All right.
Well, it's just another reminder that Chalice has changed from the old like you get percentage of your missing mana back. Don't keep buying that in ARAM because you're like, I cast a lot of spells. This will be great. Oh fuck, it doesn't do the same thing anymore.
Oh.
For me, it was almost one of those. It's like, well, I'm gonna get this item, and they have a ton of magic damage. I guess I'll buy Chalice earlier than usual because it's got that little bit of MR on it.
Now buy Hexdrinker instead, even if you're an AP champion. It's probably better.
Well, you can spend some of that extra money on Zeke's Eye of the Oasis, Talisman of Ascension, or Frozen Heart, as they've all had their cost reduced by a small amount.
Yeah, so you know. They're just trying to make life a little bit better for supports. I do want to talk quick about Ardent Sensor. We skipped that one.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that one's like change.
The attack speed and magic damage steroids that you get for healing or shielding somebody, or for being healed or shielded by somebody, are going down. You lose 5% attack speed and 5 magic damage. But the magic damage is now a drain effect, so that means the attacker will heal for 20 whenever he or she attacks, as well as dealing that 20 damage. So that makes it a very, very, very interesting item in my book. I mean, it benefits a lot of the, like, Shyvana, I guess, Master Yi, Udyr. I mean, in addition to all the AD carries and everything, just getting that extra little bit of healing can be a really big difference maker if you're already prioritizing attack speed and just getting autos off anyway.
I mean, I don't know what numbers are on, like, a normal per auto attack. Like, let's say if you have a Bloodthirster, the normal amount of health you're getting back per auto attack in a team fight, but getting 20 extra per auto is pretty ridiculous. Like, you're essentially adding 20 magic damage, so you're even splitting the damage from an AD carry, which is good.
I honestly wonder if the change to this item is what prompted them to take a look at Alistar. Because in the past, he was able to kind of just keep the Ardent Sensor buff up on his team if he went for that item, but it was like not a good enough item for him to really ever prioritize it. But if you can suddenly give a
team-wide buff,
a team-wide drain effect, all of a sudden that becomes a much higher priority. Like he's probably going to look at that and think it's a much higher priority. But with his passive, or with the heal now being attached to his passive, and it just goes off, whenever stuff dies around him, then he has a lot less say in the usability of that item.
Yeah. Another big one that went up, Mikhail's got changed a good bit. Cost went down a significant amount, down 300. And they upped the heal and shield power. So this is the biggest amount of heal and shield power you can get from one item. It's up to 20% total.
Which is a ton.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
But that's pretty. It doesn't really give a whole lot of stats otherwise. But now the active has been changed a little bit too. It's only 2-minute cooldown instead of 3-minute, which was probably the biggest active cooldown in the game, I think, minus maybe GA, and which isn't really an active, but whatever. But instead of healing, it now cleanses. It still cleanses CC on a target, but gives 2 seconds of slow immunity to that target, which is pretty cool. And successfully cleansing an event or an effect. So if you get rid of a stun, get rid of something, that target will also get 40% movement speed for 2 seconds. And it doesn't have a travel time. So like you made this, I think overall a much better item, and they're trading off the healing on it for 5% extra heal and shield power. So if it's somebody who already heals, like a Sona, like a Soraka, you're getting more out of that over time. I think that's going to be really, really big.
They're going to nerf that item. The cost is going to go up again, and the cooldown's going to go up. I mean, every time Mikhail's is good, they realize, oh, shit, no,
it's too good.
We had this nerfed for a reason. And like, I can honestly see this in a lot of games becoming the new must-buy item, just because being able to free somebody from crowd control is way, way too good.
It's funny, though, I was thinking about the Assassin update and like, oh yeah, this is good against the Assassin update. And then I thought, wait, no, you don't have healing anymore. And these people are just trying to just do straight damage to you.
Right.
Like maybe it won't be as good as you might think, but because that healing was pretty significant. It was like 200, 300 just health that you could just throw onto somebody, which was really, really game changing in a fight when it also removed CC. But this
you're not going to buy it on Tom Kench, but you don't need it anyway because you just eat him 80 carry and then laugh the assassin.
You can't target him in your
or
mouth.
You die to the assassin and then the 80 carry moves on with their life. Maybe gives you a nice little ceremony.
Yeah, and then you call down your redemption. You call down redemption after that too, because you've just died.
But
there was one more thing I forgot to grab. Oh, Banner of Command has been changed from having any AP of any sort. It's they took away, I think it was a Fiendish Codex maybe with Aegis, and now is Aegis and Glacial Shroud. So it gives armor, mana, still CDR, a bit more MR, and still upgrades the lane minion.
Here's what I don't like about this.
Everything,
but it basically like Banner and ZZ Portal are basically the same item now. So it's always going to be a case where, like, if you are buying one of those items for the split pushing purpose, like one of them is always going to be better than the other based on what they have nerfed or buffed recently. Like before they filled kind of two different niches where the ZZ Rot was for the tanky split pushers and Banner was for, like, I guess, magic damage dealing, but still it was a more offensive inclined item. And now it's like they're doing the same fucking thing. Honestly, like, Banner Command is probably, like, if you are really going that route, Banner Command is probably the better item to go for. It gives you less magic resist overall.
Is still the better item to go for because of, like, the Raptor cloak and the buff to move speed.
I forgot about it.
And the fact that you can dump it anywhere on the map that you want. You don't have to wait for a minion wave.
Health versus mana ends up being a conversation there, but cooldown reduction on Banner. Let's not ignore that.
Banner, Banner. To me, I look at Banner now, and you remove the AP from the item. I don't.
I'm right there with you. I think it's a garbage item.
I think the item is just absolutely just garbage now. I don't think there's any fucking reason to buy it.
The worst part is they worked really hard to get that item to a state where it actually was justified in purchasing it. It wasn't buy it every game, or you wanted to buy it every game, but you couldn't always make the case because the Locket active was so powerful. But now it's just like, oh, hey, look, a bunch of generic fucking tank stats that I can get from better items elsewhere, and a minion active that is, not as good as ZZ Rod in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I think one thing that's kind of interesting about a lot of these changes is there's a distinct lack of health on these support items. Minus the I have to scroll to find it again. Knight's Vow.
That's the new ones.
Minus Knight's Vow and Redemption, right. Like all of these items that used to have health, and a pretty good chunk of it don't have it anymore. Aegis doesn't. Banner doesn't. Locket doesn't. These are all just completely losing straight health. That doesn't work very well early on. But those costs did go down a ton. Banner is down 700 gold total to 2,200. I'm not saying it's good because of that, but that's at least a nice consolation. Still terrible.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the tank supports who wanted the health on all these other items are just going to look at the new items now as a result.
Do we talk about face previously? Like, it's the quickest discussion. It now gives you it now acts like Blood Boil. You get it. You get the shield, and your ally does too. So
that's nice because the champions that were using it were oftentimes in the fray and would want to use it on themselves, but their job is to keep a carry alive, and so you save it for them. So at least
I like the self casting part of it too, because it'll target the nearest most wounded ally if you self cast it. So you'll still get 2 buffs. So you can target yourself and not be like, oh, I just screwed my team. It'll still buff somebody.
That's always good. We like fail safes. So
I do think I think all of the active items get better because of the introduction of redemption for sure, and just by virtue of you wanting to now have Ruby Sightstone to decrease the cooldown on redemption, like more than anything else. That's huge. 20% off of that item's cooldown is a big amount of time.
Yeah. I can't wait to talk control wards once we know how this goes. Sorry, I was just scrolling back up on Cerner at 20.
Oh, I know. We still have a few little small things to chat about. And like I said, but I guess everybody listening to the show, I don't, if you feel overwhelmed by all these, don't worry. We do too.
Yeah.
We're talking about
again,
it.
This This is the yearly, like, let's figure out how to completely replay the game all over again phase of League of Legends.
Everyone's got 5 different ideas, and they're all trying them at once. Yep. Like, I'm not sure if that worked or if the other team was just bad.
And don't worry, we're going to have to do all this again during the mid-season.
Yes.
Oh, God, I really hope that they just kind of go easy this year.
I hope they have 2 mid-seasons.
2?
You're insane. You're an insane person.
Do you think it's going to be a straight tank update?
Yeah, I can't even remember what the game was like before mid-season.
A lot of Udyr.
Yeah, I know. I played a bunch. I played I played more this season than I have any other, but I just like genuinely can't remember what was going on before mid-season.
That's kind of like the problem with them doing mid-season, because it's just, we're getting 2 seasons every 1 season we play, essentially. Like, we're getting a half a season and then another half a season, and like, you guys talk about, like, I'll be like, you guys remember when this happened? You're like, guys, you'll be like, hey, that happened like season 3, the end of, or you remember that was like season 4, and I'm like, oh my God, it's been that long. But it hasn't really been. But there's too much going on. So when we talk about something old that happened, or you try to bring up something old, the state of the game is so much different than it is now.
I mean, there's been so many iterations at this point. Like, it's a chore to try and remember how shit was at certain points, or like not just like 3 or 4 seasons ago, but like just 6 months ago.
If you hadn't said Feral Flare earlier, I probably wouldn't have thought about that item again.
Right. The thing is, I didn't even remember that's what the item was called until somebody else said it. I'm like, that's exactly what it is, and that was the problem. So let's go.
Yeah,
Thanks for Memorial Day episode.
We had some podcasts.
Devour, Feral Flare, a bunch of stuff going on. Who knows?
And that's why there's almost 400 episodes of the Trinity Force podcast, because we keep up on it.
Still
so
going
you
strong.
don't have to.
Yeah, you guys. I hope you guys are all looking forward to the series finale at 400. I know we are.
We're close. By the way, this is episode number 396. That means if we do 2 episodes over the next couple weeks, let's see here. That's 7, 9.
Then we'll be
14,
retired
16.
by Christmas.
On the 21st would be episode number. Actually, excuse me. The 16th would be episode number 400. If we did 2 episodes next week and 2 episodes the week after that.
Probably smarter to either make it that or the Monday after, and not like delay so much that the 23rd, the day before Thanksgiving, is when it happens.
Probably we should do episode number 400 on the 21st. Like you said, just because it's Thanksgiving week, and we probably won't be podcasting the day before Thanksgiving. Actually, yeah. I'd say we won't be.
I think a lot of people will be gone, so
right.
I would think that or the week after.
No, we'll do it the week of. We'll do it the 21st, assuming everyone's here. We can get
conversations most groups would have behind closed doors. We have on air.
Nope, because you guys aren't all in Slack all day. The only people that are in Slack are me, Dom, and Punch. And Punch is only there if I tag him, and Serial just looks at it at the end of the day, and then complains. And Sean jumps in at like 8 a.m. and then never comes back.
Hey, asshole! How about you just fucking text me?
I text you all the fucking time, Sean.
I know.
Sean talks to me a lot in Slack.
I do, because I talk to Dom. Like, Slack is my private text service straight to Dom, even though we text each other too. It's just,
hey, Adam,
I do appreciate you going to Slack, because I would get in a lot of trouble at the office if I was having that many text conversations with you.
Adam, if you can figure out how to work around the firewall that turned off Slack at work, I would gladly be on it all day, and I would talk to you guys fucking constantly.
Can't you just use Google Fi? Whatever the fuck are you using? Can't you just use?
Yeah, but also I want to use more data when I work out in Jenkinsville, South Carolina. Do not Google that. It's got maybe 2 stoplights and a food truck.
You don't get 4G out there? You don't have unlimited data? What's going on?
Surprise, no. You say Google Fi and unlimited data is a funny joke to pair together.
I actually don't know too much about that Google service or how it works.
Well, how about we have a 5-minute long conversation about it at the end, right now while
that's what we do.
Recording.
That's what we do.
It always devolves into something terrible.
Well, I will. Okay, I'll go ahead and kill it then. That was it. That's episode number 396 of the Trinity Force podcast. Thank you guys for listening and supporting us on patreon.com/TForce Network. We appreciate everything you're doing. If you had noticed that Dom and Punch are on brand new microphones, and Serial, as soon as I can get a hold of him, will be getting a new one as well.
I'll just send him the Hornet's old damaged one.
No, Serial just happened to be gone when I started ordering them, because he seems to be gone every weekend on some trip. This dude flies. His freaking flyer miles must just be astronomical at this point.
if you call frequent flyer miles the amount of miles I'm piling onto my car, then yeah.
Well, that too.
Frequent gas miles.
Yeah, I've got
my speedy points. He's getting a lot of them.
I'm averaging like 30,000 miles a year driving. So
I don't think the speedy point.
You get speedy points. You get $1 per gallon or something like that.
Oh gosh.
Or
I don't live in child land over in the Midwest where speedy points is a thing.
Yo, Speedway is the fucking best gas station ever because you get fucking points for whenever any money you spend, and then you can turn those points into more stuff in the store.
Man, I wish we were really sponsored by Speedway so they could give me some free points.
I'm going to take off my headset because I'm pretty sure we ended the podcast already.
Guys, that's episode 397 or 6 of the Trinity Force podcast. We'll see you all next week.
See you guys.
Bye.